Yo, it's Frugal Freddy here. Welcome to Dollars and Cents. Make sure you like and subscribe to get the latest episode of the podcast. This is part 2 of the Fatherhood and Legacy series. And today I have my boy, Brandyn McElroy.
Sir.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. You know, we gone back a ways.
It's been a little while.
But before we really dive in, like, can you let the people know a little bit about who you are, what you're all about, how many kids you have, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Brandyn McElroy, my 9 to 5, I work for a tech company, pretty big one.
Really big one.
A lot of people know, probably have it on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
But I have 2 kids, 2 beautiful kids, man, beautiful wife.
Mm-hmm.
In my spare time, we do podcast called Watch Dads.
Yes.
As well as
Can I be a guest on Watch Dads?
Oh, it's already. We just got to get this on the schedule. That's it.
Let's make it happen.
We got to make it happen. Do photography, man, and then a host of other businesses. We got a 360 booth that's been running real crazy.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Congrats, man.
Thank you, man.
Congrats.
I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
It. That's good.
That's awesome. So with that, with all those titles, and I don't know how you do it all.
It's work.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you and your wife do it.
I was gonna say she's really the one that has to do a lot of it.
Yeah, because it's y'all, man. Like I need to come to y'all school. So how was your upbringing, and with your upbringing, did that shape your view on fatherhood?
Man, so I had a blessing of being in a 2-parent household, which I know is a blessing, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have that same opportunity. It was good, man. I mean, we lived on the northeast side of the city, not in the greatest of communities, mm-hmm. but one that at least showed you what community is and what mm-hmm. it's all about, what having neighbors and being neighborly is all about. And from a upbringing in my father perspective, I mean, my dad was always there. He challenged me on a lot of different things, but he also gave me my mantra that I live by, which is one monkey doesn't stop the show. Oh. That came from, he wasn't always able to be there. So my dad worked some pretty egregious hours at times. He was also an entrepreneur and videographer. And so sometimes he couldn't be at every event. He couldn't be at every situation. And, as a young man, you always want your dad's approval. You want him to kind of tell you that validation. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So he would say, son, I may not be able to make it. And I'm like, all right, Dad, no problem. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, one monkey don't stop the show. Mm-hmm. And so I've lived by that. He would always surprise me, though. He has a very distinct whistle that he does.
And you know that.
So I know that whistle. So, I would think he's not there. And then I'd hear that whistle come in. I'm like, Dad's here. All right, got it.
Does he still use that whistle?
He still uses it with his grandkids. When they're out and gone, they're learning it. That's for sure. So
that's dope. But I actually just saw some on social media. It was this guy, he's military, and he did the whistle. And his son was looking. So that's my dad's whistle. Yeah. So, and that is a form of legacy. You know what I'm saying?
It is. I do it with my kids as well. That's the funny part. I do the same thing. So
the same whistle or different?
It's a little different. Okay. My dad's got like a very harsh whistle. I'm just like, hey, how y'all doing? I'm here.
That's sweet that you have that relationship with your dad. And like you said, it is a blessing to come from a 2-parent household and coming from a community, which, unfortunately, some of us don't have that. That community in the neighborhood,
absolutely.
So I know your oldest is a girl, and how has that been? How has it been being a girl dad?
Well, my journey was different.
Yes.
My daughter was born at 23 weeks and 5 days.
Wow.
Which is 17-ish weeks early. So she was 1 pound 5.5 ounces. We didn't know if she was going to even make it. The call that I got from my wife when I was in transition to try to get to her was, they want to know, do you want to save the baby or not? And I'm like, that's a question you don't hear,
that's
right?
That's a tough question.
It's a very tough question. And obviously it was a yes. And so that started our bond. And I mean, she is my road dog. She is my, wherever I am, she is, and she goes with me. And she's a miracle. I mean, you watch her and see her today, you would know, the situation that she went through in the beginning stage of her life. So as a girl dad, I think it changed me a lot, not even just her birth, but really understanding how the world works when it comes to women and young girls as you grow. It puts you on high alert.
Absolutely.
I know you understand that,
Hey,
but like
I don't
it puts
play
you on
around.
high alert for a lot of different
Yeah.
things. But it's a joy, man. I mean, there's something special about seeing her in the morning, that hug, that kiss that you get. It's just pure, unadulterated, natural love.
That's real.
And that's something that, you know, I think a lot of people take for granted, to be honest with you. I think we take it for granted.
Definitely. I know you and your wife just had a young man.
Yeah.
How's that been? How's that been with being a girl dad? Now you're a boy dad.
Yeah, I got both, right?
Yeah.
And it's been great. I mean, he's all boy, if you will, like terrorist in the house, like throwing stuff.
He's running
it already. But you know, the funny part is watching my daughter be almost a mother figure to him.
Wow.
She loves to like, come on, Braylon, let's do this, let's do that, you know, let's talk about it, let's move this way. And she loves to be an example to him. And I think a lot of it comes from her watching the interactions that I even have with other people and engaging, you know, the podcast and all. Like, she's seen a lot of those things. And so she really has a genuine love and care for him. For the wife and I, man, it's 5 years to 1 year is it's a rough some days.
I'm going to pray for y'all.
Thank you.
I'm going to pray for
Listen,
y'all.
nap time is a great time.
Yes. Hey, we all going to sleep.
Everybody.
The whole family's
Everybody taking a nap.
And one go down, we all go down.
We all go down.
If it's for 30 minutes, I don't care.
Right. That's it. That's it.
That's awesome. I love that you guys have that team atmosphere with your relationship with you and your wife, because, you know, you guys have gone through some things. You kind of alluded to that. Before we like dive into that, what has been some of your proudest moments as a father and even a husband?
Yeah. I think for me as a father, it is seeing my daughter achieve her goals. And so she's 5. So people are like, what goals does she have? She plays soccer. Right. She plays soccer. And my wife played basketball in school. Her dad was, you know, semi-pro and all. And so, yeah, there's a big basketball push in our house. And so I'm like, listen, do what you got to do, but if she doesn't like basketball, we gonna see what it does. So soccer was her first sport. I honestly didn't think she was gonna do all that great at it.
That's dope.
We practiced a little bit, we did a little bit, and she turned into #1 star on her team.
Wow.
Her first round.
Isn't it an all-boy team, right?
It's co-ed.
It's co-ed. Wow. Okay.
And her first team, she was probably one of 3 girls, and the rest were all boys. Her team this year has been all girls and 1 boy.
Oh, wow.
And her and one of the other little girls have been kind of the star players on it. But watching her go from, Dad, I'm just trying to figure out how to kick the ball down the field, to, hey, I'm scoring, right? And she's not a big, like, go celebrate dad, you know, and dance and all that. She's really like, hey, I did it. Yeah. And you can see it in her face that, like, I achieved that goal. Now I got to go talk to dad, or I got to go talk to mom and say, thank you know, I did it, and give my high five. So watching her, man, watching that confidence grow is intense. But then, you know, the attitude and my persistent attitude goes with it. No, my wife was the coach first year.
Would you be coaching from the sidelines? Oh, you one of them dads.
Hey,
hey, don't do that.
In front of it. Yeah. I'm definitely one of those dads. I try to hold back a little bit, but I'm definitely one of those dads.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that is funny, because I'm gonna be, well, my daughter, she's in gymnastics, so you can't really coach. But when she gets into something, I'll probably be that dad.
Absolutely.
Oh man, that's funny. So with that, and I think that's dope that you were able to, you know, see her achieve a goal at 5 years old.
Oh man,
and these new age kids are very smart, very, very real verse.
Yeah.
And with that, you see their life through your lens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sports is a good thing for them to get involved in.
Absolutely.
So with that, you know, I know your story.
Yeah.
I know your story. Some of your story. I don't know all of it.
Yeah.
So what has been some of the challenging moments becoming a dad, becoming a husband, and being a father? Man,
I'll start with becoming a husband, because I want to start first, right? So
tread lightly, bro. We had some husbands on the show, and I always tell them,
we don't need any rockiness, right?
You know the husband I'm talking about. Seal Eddie.
You
I
said
told
make
her,
it right.
tread lightly.
Tread lightly.
Yeah.
No, you know, before I was a husband, I was very involved in the community politically.
Yes, you were.
I was, you know, in the politics, serious, you know, running different organizations and kind of helping to move things and shake things in the city. And that was my big love and light. Becoming a husband, it changed. I still had a care and a drive for the city, but now I have this other person that needs me, right? That's like, hey, can we not go to every single meeting throughout the entire time? We don't have to be at everything, dude. So that was a change, man. And then to be honest with you, we got taken out of the city for a little while. We moved to New Mexico. We're there for about 3 years, and it cut me like cold turkey from community activism and moving, which was actually a very big positive. I didn't know it at the time. There were two things that came out of it. One was a focus on ministry. And so that's been my focus since, you know, going to New Mexico, being in New Mexico and all. But the second one was the focus on infertility. So my wife and I have had a total of 10 miscarriages.
Wow.
We have two beautiful kids, but those 10 miscarriages started in 2016 when we moved to New Mexico.
Wow.
And so, you know, it took some time for us to really find one another in these struggles and in these battles of, you know, not being able to produce a kid, you know, going to the, you know, I got a pregnancy test, it's positive, and doing the whole thing. And finally, you know, fourth time having our daughter. But even in that, it was crazy, right? Like you had a situation where you're like, I'm in New Mexico, she's in Pittsburgh for a 1 week training. And boom, right? Our daughter is there. So it took us into a tailspin from a relationship standpoint.
Wow.
But one that we ultimately made it out on a positive.
Awesome.
We wrote 2 books. You know, Faith Beyond the Cycle is my wife's book, and then Support Beyond the Cycle is mine. That help with, you know, young women that are, you know, becoming mothers, wanting to be mothers, and are struggling with infertility. And then on the opposite side, the Support Beyond the Cycle for me is for the fathers, right, to be that are trying to get to that space. So that transition, man, from full on citywide community, right, to a very focal community on ministry and infertility journey, it changed a lot. It changed a lot of that perspective and the way I run life.
Wow. And I didn't know how that transition just brought more clarity to maybe to your life. Like, because you was heavy into the politics.
Heavy.
And sometimes God takes you from one thing to another so you can be present for your family, your wife, and for you guys to make it through. You said 10 miscarriages?
10 miscarriages, man.
And y'all still rocking and rolling now?
Still rocking and rolling. I mean, there's definitely some moments. I think she probably want to throw me out on the street.
I'm sure she probably wanted to knock you out a couple times. I'm sure. But you guys made it through.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about marriage. Like, it's never going to be perfect.
No.
And, you know, if you guys commit to something, then you guys committed to it, and you guys going to work through the ups and downs through it. You guys did.
Yeah, no, and it's a blessing, man. It's an absolute blessing. And it's still a journey today. You know, we were 8 years this year married, 10 years together. But, you know, we still are fighting through, you know, every single day of like, hey, there's a challenge that we're running into. We got to approach it differently than we did the time before, or you may use what you learned to keep it pushing. But trying to share that with those that we see.
And then you be like, man, these bad kids, man. Hey,
come get your kid.
These are your kids today. No, that's dope, man. And I definitely commend you guys, man. Definitely admire you guys from afar, and definitely look up to you guys. You know, man. So get your flowers, you know, brother.
I appreciate it.
So, you know, you've been at this fatherhood thing for about what, 5 or 6 years? 5 years. What would your advice be to a new dad out here that may have just had a baby or in the process of having a baby, or someone that's struggling with infertility or fertility with their spouse?
Enjoy every moment. It may seem a little rough when you're talking about somebody that's trying to have a child. It may seem a little rough when it's like, I just had a kid 2 weeks ago and I'm trying to find sleep. Or it may be, you know, hey, we're 4 or 5 years in and there's a routine that sets in. Enjoy every single moment.
That's dope.
in the world that we live in today, man, it's so fast paced. It's so, I gotta find $1. I gotta do all this thing. I mean, Frugal Freddy, right? We trying to figure it out.
We gotta get this money,
we
bro.
gotta get the money. But so many times we blink, and now she's 5.
That's real.
And I thought she was just 3 yesterday. You know, you blink and he was 6 weeks old. Man, we just celebrated his first birthday.
That's
like,
so
what's
sweet.
happening?
Mhm.
So really find your center, man, and enjoy it. Kids don't look at us from a perspective of like, dad is on that poster over there, or dad is on the TV show. And even if they see you, it's a moment of like, oh, cool, dad's on the TV.
Yeah.
And Bluey was on the TV too,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. But the reality is like, dad is right here with me is much more impactful. Dad is seeing me achieve the goal that I needed. Dad is leading me to understand what life is all about. Dad is not leaving my side when I'm struggling. Dad picks me up off the ground when I tripped over somebody in the grass and I was just trying to get to that goal. He's right there. You know,
real.
that's the moment, and then you got to take every second and just enjoy it. You know, we today are so into the 30-second clip, right? Like, how much of this can I shrink down to Instagram, or how can I put it on, YouTube? I dare not say Facebook, because people are like, Facebook, and
All the old
but
folks.
all the yeah. But I mean, everything we try to minimize to these little clips of life. But the reality is you got to enjoy every single moment. And you can't cut out the bad times, because the bad times make the good times what they are.
I like that. I like that.
And we sometimes forget that. We ignore that and skip it.
Because we got to, like you said, we got to go through the bad times.
You got to go
We
through
got
it.
to.
Yeah.
I saw something on social media the other day where it talked about pretty much something about being successful. You have to have failure first to be successful.
You don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you don't have failure, if you don't have a moment where it didn't go right, when it goes well, you're like, oh, all right, is that what that felt like?
Yeah.
And then you're moving on, right?
And take it for granted, too.
You take it for granted, because when failure hits, you're devastated.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
I can't come back. I can't. No, if you have failure up front and you appreciate it, then when you have success, that value is so much higher.
Yeah.
And it's the same for your kids, man. I mean, we watch them, we see them, using the soccer. I watched her struggle to figure out how to kick a ball, struggle to figure out, like, wait, you mean I got to go to that goal from this one? But it looks the same. Why don't I just kick it over there?
And it's far, too.
And it's far, right? And I got to focus that entire time? Dude, you asking a lot, right?
Doing that.
But when you see that face light up because you ran all the way down, you tripped once, you jumped back up, your teammate kicked you the ball again, and you heard dad and mom say, all the way, all the way, all the way.
Maybe just dad.
Maybe just dad. Maybe. And you kick it through. The first thing, them hands go up,
Smile.
turn around, that smile is bright. That's because that failure moment was like, man, I remember when I missed it. I remember when it didn't work out. And now it worked.
That's sweet.
Dad, mom, it worked.
That's sweet.
And
for her to achieve that at 5, like,
it's huge.
And like I said, that confidence as we see our children grow up.
Yeah.
That's going to benefit them in different areas of their life.
Absolutely.
Soccer, it could be in the classroom. It could be just having friends. And like my daughter, she's in gymnastics.
Yeah.
And she's a shy girl, but when it comes to gymnastics and the stage, there's a whole different Savannah. And I'm like, all right, baby girl, go up there.
Do your thing.
Do your thing. So it's good that they're getting those experiences so young. And unfortunately, some of us probably haven't had those experiences at 5.
At 5, yeah.
But we're in a position now where we can give them some type of privilege in, hey, here's an activity that you're going to do.
Yep.
You're going to struggle. You're going to succeed, but it's going to benefit you way down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Soccer today may not be the thing.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. That's real.
But she'll understand, okay, I still got to work at it.
Yep.
I got to practice, oh, this didn't work the last time. It's okay. I can keep moving. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what she, translates into the other pieces of her life.
That's awesome. So when we think about legacy, what comes to mind, and what legacy that you want to leave for your children and your family?
When I was in the community space, it was always about putting my name on a placard.
Ooh.
And, you know, you walk into the recreation center and you see city councilman and so-and-so, mayor was it, you know, that was all, it was like, man, I got to put my name on it. I got to have it there. So when she walks in, she's like, oh no, my dad was involved in that. And I think I achieved that to a degree, right? Like there's a lot of things that I had to physically sign off on or give approval or vote for that I can drive her around the city and say, hey, dad, you know, worked on that project. That didn't happen unless dad was involved in it. But the reality is what value comes out of that? What's the real value in, okay, my dad's name is on the building, but what did I get left?
Right.
Right? To me, the legacy is what you teach them on how to be successful, but how to make it through those challenging times. You know, yes, it's great to leave finances. Yes, it's great to leave, you know, houses and businesses. And I mean, we're doing all that, right? Like we're building stuff and putting businesses together and podcasts and all that stuff to make sure that the money will be there for them. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money today that the legacy is trashed.
Wow.
Because they don't have the work ethic. They don't have the drive. They don't have the failure moments to sustain what was built for them. So for me, it's really helping her to understand this is what it takes to get down that field each and every time. Not just one time, not just for the cam, you know, for the gram. She got it. Nah, sustain it each and every time. That's legacy. Being able to say, no, my dad taught me that I gotta work at this. It's not gonna be handed to me.
Ooh, you said something like
What's up?
With the teaching.
Yeah.
Let me go back with the plaque thing. I had to work through this. Like at one point in my life, legacy was very egotistical.
Okay.
Like, oh, that's my name on the plaque.
Yeah.
Hey, baby girl, daddy did that. Like you said, they don't care about that. And then you have to understand like what is your why? Like, am I doing it to get an ego stroke, or am I really doing it for my family?
Right.
And when you said that, I'm like, man, you said something there. So when did that like shift change? Like when did that mind shift come for you from the plaque to more about my family? Was it the transition to Albuquerque?
Yep. That was it. It was a transition to Albuquerque, but more importantly, the transition back to Columbus. Because when I came back, it was instantly, oh, you're back in the city?
Oh, you're a new person when you come back too.
Right. But those that I left are like, oh no, we need you in the community. Like, can you sign up to be on this? Can you step in? I mean, there were very vivid conversations like, hey, we're doing this whole war thing coming up. Are you thinking about joining it? All of that was there. And the temptation is that ego, right? Steps in and like, oh man, that was the goal, right? Like that's where we're trying to go.
If I did that.
Let's do it, right? Like, let's jump right in. Let's do it. But the reality set in of like, nah, I didn't send you. The man upstairs, we'll put it that way, God. I didn't send you out there for that. I didn't send you out there to come back and do the same thing. That wasn't the point. The point was for you to understand that it's more than just that moment. It's about teaching. So when I came back, it really straight into the ministry side. Started to preach, started to teach, started to really drive in on the ministry. And even to today where, you know, we returned back to my home church, where, you know, long term, you never know. Teaching ministry may be there to share for others, to build the legacy, not just for me, but for someone else to understand legacy goes beyond just you. Legacy is what you leave behind. It's what you believe in. It's what you drive for. If money is really what you're game
for, about money either.
What's the Bible say? The love of money is the root of all evil, right?
Real.
That's what it says.
Preach,
the
brother.
love of it, right? People get that confused though.
You're right.
Because they say, oh, the money. It's not the money that's evil. You got to have money to move things around,
right?
Whether it's now or ever. But it's the love of it. And that's translates the same to seeing dad's name on the plaque. That love of the name on the plaque, that's the root of evil for some people.
That's real.
Because they'll do a lot of stuff, man, and ruin a lot of stuff, including their family, including what they may have been building for their family, just to see that name up in lights or just to see that name on the plaque. Instead of, hey, you know what? I'm going to take my leadership from him.
That's real.
I'm going to let him guide me on where I need to go. And when the door opens, and I don't have to do a whole bunch. And if there's a legacy that's left behind where my name is translated somewhere, wonderful.
That's dope.
If not, the only name I need to really translate is Lauren McElroy and Braylon McElroy.
That's real.
Those are the two that I need to hold on to it go on, and the legacy will live on from there.
No, I received that. And you have a new form of ministry. the Wash Dads podcast.
Yeah, man.
And one thing before we jump into that,
Yeah.
one thing that I'm learning about this podcast space, it is a ministry.
It is.
It's one to many. And it's on whoever's the curator of that
Yeah.
to put out the good information.
Absolutely.
So what came out of the Wash Dads? Why did you start it?
Yeah. So one of your other guests, right? It's all a community at
Yes,
this
it
point.
is.
DJ Durrell, man.
Mhm.
He has the Fatherhood fraternity. And coming into that, it was amazing to see dads coming together, taking that time, right, to really chat it up. And one of my really good friends, we'd had a lot of conversations, and he said to me, like, man, I would love to have a space where we just sit down and talk. You know, as dads, as fathers, there's so much that's built up inside of us that we don't say because it may ruin the relationship. It may ruin date night. It may ruin a whole bunch of stuff, right? You might shoot some stuff down. Like, I was thinking, don't do that.
Tread lightly, bro.
Tread lightly on what you about to, I've been thinking of, but a safe space that we can have a conversation is really where Wash Dads came from. It was the title because a lot of people are like, why Wash Dads?
Why we gotta be washed?
Listen, so the immediate response to that is like, oh, you like washed up.
Gotcha.
But in my mind, a washed dad is a dad that is established in themselves.
Oh, wow.
You're not really chasing fads anymore. You're not chasing trying to be the big,
You're just
shiny
comfortable.
thing. You're comfortable. We're comfortable in who we are. We're comfortable in having a conversation about PlayStation 1 and like talking about Super Nintendo and all that. Game Boy. We're comfortable with like, man, I remember, talking about the phone. Like we were talking about that a little earlier, like talking to people on the phone, walking around. We're comfortable now, right? Like the flex now is how many of us can we pull together? That's the flex. It's no longer like, oh, what shoes you wearing? What? To me, that's a Wash Dad.
And it's freedom in that.
You're doing it. It's freedom in that. We cleaned up. We cleaned up from all those like vices. I mean, we still all have something, right? Like we all have something, but we're washed up from all of that like negativity chasing, all those things that really expend your time, your energy in a way that isn't successful for your legacy.
Wow.
So yeah, you might be washed in some people's minds of like, oh, he ain't doing it no more. But the reality is we have a lot to share, man. From the young to the older to the middle group, like we have a lot to share, and we want to share with one another. Have that conversation together.
Yeah, and that safe space, that community is important, especially being a father in this world. And there's no school, there's no book on fatherhood.
None.
You learn as you go,
Yeah.
and you fail as you go.
As you go.
And you succeed as you go as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But isn't it great to have a community that you can bounce that off of?
Ooh, yeah.
Isn't it good to be able to say like, bro, I've been where you're at, and hey, let me warn you before you make that left.
You're gonna make
because you're gonna make a couple of lefts, right? You might make a couple of rights too, and you can share that with somebody else. But to be able to talk about that in true, honest form, and to be able to hear and receive it in a way that's like not judgmental, and it's just true, pure. Like this is my experience and what I have for you as a fellow father or a father to be. Man,
That's real.
That's what it's all about.
That's real. So in closing, what advice or what would you leave with the people? Fathers, soon to be fathers, aspiring fathers. What would be like that quick line that you would give to them on that?
It was one of the words that I said on my first episode. It was in joke, but it's really serious. We see you, King.
Oh, wow.
We see you.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
A lot of times people use the term king in a very like loose method. And the first guest that I had on my show is a man of great stature in the political world. He works for the vice president of the United States, all that kind of stuff. And I jokingly said to him, like, when we first met here in the state, I saw you, King. Like, I saw what you were doing. He's like, B, I hate hearing that statement because people use it. But as we started to talk about it, I was like, no. But think about really what it means. We as dads, a lot of times hide who we are, the struggles that we're having, the thoughts that we're having. And a lot of times we see it on one another. We just don't necessarily say it to one another. And so for me, it is truly, we see you, King. Like we see that there's a struggle. We see there's something going, and that's okay. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. we see that you have some things on your mind. We see you got plans that you're trying to move forward. We see you. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can share as a community together so that we can up your stature. Because a lot of people get real sensitive about, oh man, Frugal Freddy, man, he doing a podcast. I'm doing a podcast too. And what's the point?
We'll come together.
Let's come together and talk about it.
I'm gonna be on Watch Dad.
Listen, he gonna be a Watch Dad, and I need some finance help because a brother out here trying to figure it out. Why can't we have that together? Why can't we uplift each other? So we see you. I see what you're doing. I see what you got going on over there. Let's talk about it.
That's real. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely.
I know this is your first time being interviewed.
Hey.
So what an honor. Because I know you always behind the scenes or curating something. So it's always good to have you had the opportunity to get interviewed.
No, I
so you can
appreciate
share your story.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, y'all. See ya.